Oh, what's up, demons and demonettes? 'Tis I, Atraxi Demon Queen, and today I want to bring you my pre-game Dream Endless guide. But before we get into it, as always, toss a like and subscribe down below. So, with the Dream Realm coming up in Ways of Intrigue, I'll cover each of the bosses in a separate guide. But these are the things that are just kind of like a general strategy of things I do to get ready for each of the boss fights. That can be done ahead of time, throughout the reset, that sort of thing, to give you your best parts at the end of the day, right? So, one of the things you want to consider is, first off, is your Hands of Resonance, and this is probably going to be the most important thing when it comes to Dream Realm, at least until we hit that hard cap, right? Or even that soft cap. It's not going to be as important. But what you want to do is you want to make sure you have what we're going to call the meta slot, or meta slots, right? So what we're going to have here is we have one that's at, say, 371, when the rest of these would be at 361. Then we're going to level up the second one here to 371. And then, as you can see, I'm slowly leveling the rest of them up to 371. Then once I get them all to 371, I'll restart the cycle, right? So then we'll get this one to 381, then 381. Then we'll just do the 382 across the board here. And then what we want to do is, in our highest slot possible, we would put our primary boss killer, right? So say we're up against Orson, right? And we're going up against Orson. We would put Lenya here. And then if we're running Sinbad, he would be our secondary damage dealer in this case, right? So he's like, if we have a second boss killer, we'll put him there, or wherever's the highest damage dealer. So say if it's like for Orson, right? We may not have that secondary boss killer. So if we don't have that second boss killer, what I'll do is I'll put the next highest damage within, which in this case would be like a Kruger, right? Because we're using him heavy for his debuffing, because he pairs well with a Lenya. So Lenya is our primary boss killer, so we want her to have the most levels to get the most attack stats and get the second one to the second highest damage dealer to get them more attack stats, right? So we get more overall damage, and then we just kind of want to round out the rest of the team, right? Because they're more going to be support heroes and not primary damage dealers. So they may do some damage, and having levels on them will be nice. We want to make sure that we have our highest levels on our main hero. Now, it may not be, it's probably not going to be open at the start of the season, but it here is on the Pioneer server is Dur's Trials, right? So what we want to do is, when applicable, we want to focus on the trials, right? Obviously, we want to try to push them as high as we can each day, but we kind of primarily want to focus on those Dur's Trials that are going to be open on those days that can give us the charms for our boss killers, right? So if all of them are open, we can focus on that day's boss killers to try to get them their set bonus, because it can be very big. If it's not, in general, what I try to focus on are rogue, marksman, or mage at the very least, right? So that way we're at least trying to get something, because rogue is that's gonna entail Lily May, Lenya, who are boss killers. Marksman's gonna entail Odie, who is still gonna be used, and caster is going to entail Taylene, who will still see some use in pre-endless, right? So those are kind of like the three areas I would focus on for Dur's Trials when they come unlocked. Because we could take a look at, say, Taylene, right?
What a beautiful day. Want to make it even better?
So we go here, increases all damage except normal attack damage by 35% for 60 seconds, right? So that is her ult damage. All of Taylene's damage comes from her ulting and continuously ulting, so she kind of keeps burning everything down. So having her set boost is huge. It's gonna make like a huge difference. Sets are crazy and what they add in the damage. So we want to make sure that when Duras finally opens, that if we can work on building those sets, we want to do that ahead of time of doing the Dream Realm bosses, right? Because that's going to give us more damage and better parses. The other thing to consider is going to be artifacts, right? So here we kind of have all of the artifacts unlocked for seasonal, and we get them all at plus 10, and we can build them all. We don't know necessarily what order we're going to be able to build them in season, but most of these artifacts are coming into play. We've seen at least, I would say, 3 different to 4 different ones come into play in Dream Realm. So you have Frontliner. That's been kind of big for like a Lone Gaze. Or Orson. Arcane came in big against like Bear because we used Lily May. We have 2 magic casters. So something with like if you run like Odie and a Talian or Odie and Lily May, you might run Arcane. Title's kind of becoming a factor. It's not as big as the other ones. And Verdant was kind of like the early go-to. But we kind of just got to get through the cycle, right? So these are kind of like the 4 primary artifacts. And it looks like you just level them up all right now with this orange resource. And this comes just from all of the Legend Trials, right? So to keeping that in mind is something we want to do is we want to push the Legends Trials as far as we can each day to get those marks where we unlock those artifact pieces, right? So we just want to try to get as far as we can. Right now, we're kind of stuck at 31. These are a little crazy. A lot different than what we're used to. You're going to see Celestials, Hypogeans. The stages are a bit more difficult. Plus, we don't have a lot of levels right now, right? So that's another thing to consider, right? So it looks like eventually we're going to get red. So we're going to need red to level them. And then maybe potentially whatever this other resource here is. It doesn't tell us. So maybe it'll get past like 20. So I don't know. Maybe the artifacts will all start out at 10 as a base. So that way they're at least on par with the regular artifacts that we already have. If not, you may be looking at running something like Star Shard again on every boss in Dream Realm until we can get those artifacts, those key artifacts that we need up to those levels we need them. So that's kind of everything I would do. And then I would just, typically what I will do when it comes to the actual Dream Realm and running the bosses, right? So it's, if I can beat Common 1 in one go, I'll do the run as early as possible, right? Because then you want to get all of these rewards, right? Because sometimes they'll be like XP. Right now it's just Dream Fragments. Common 1 might have been different. I honestly don't remember, but you can get through like, say, like Common 1 easy. We're pretty much on Common 2 right away. Everyone just blows through Common 1. So if you can blow through a tier, just blow through that tier. Get all the rewards. And then just kind of like, maybe you want to run 1 parse in the morning, right? So, or I say first time after reset, we'll say, right? So you blow through the Common tier 1, then you run Common tier 2, like, right away, right? So you can kind of at least get some of the rewards here, right? Because maybe it'll help you, maybe it won't, right? Because then maybe you'll get like some more equipment, right? So we could touch on equipment too and kind of the strategy. So like on Song of Strife, I don't know if we're gonna have a gold cap issue, right? So we had an issue with gold, but I've been through Song of Strife. I have a ton of gold built up. So I don't know if that's really going to be a factor this season. But typically what I like to do is I like to keep my equipment within 30 levels of like the reso, right? So if I'm reso, say like 360, I wouldn't want to forge up and build a 360 weapon, right? Because that's only going to give me 360. That's going to waste my resources. That's going to waste my crafting resources. But what you want to try to do too is mainly focus on those items that are key to that class, right? Or those key classes, which in case are your rogue. So you want to make sure like you have your rogue weapon right? Because that's a lot of attack, that's a lot of crit. So you want to make sure that these are within, I would say, 10 to 20 levels of your max level that you can have them, especially if you're using that class on a boss. Same thing goes with for marksman. You know, I would level up the smaller items if they're maybe like 40 or more, but you would just want to like focus on like the same thing. Like so for a damage dealing class, your ranged weapon is going to be important. Your gloves are going to be important, right? Because it has attack. Um, this quiver here is important, right? It has attack crit. The helm here has attack HP. So it's not as important. And then like the chest here, that's just all defensive stats. And then the boots, just crit. So like so you want to prioritize the items that give you the biggest boost to damage and not so much the items that give you the biggest boost to survivability. Although, like I said, you still want them within like 20 to probably 20 to 30 um, levels of your max here, right? Probably I would say more closer to 20. So right, so 340 I think is fine. Um, Here we would be fine. 350 would be fine. 340 I'd be okay with because this is not really adding damage. It's adding a little bit of survivability. I mean, it's not going to be end of the world if we don't max it up. So those are just all of the things to consider. Faction talents, they don't really have any forbearance that I've seen in Dream Realm. It's primarily just the seasonal stages and the faction towers, so that's not really going to be a big issue. But those are some of the things that you can do each day to kind of get ready, right? And so like just at the end of the day, right, is when you're going to have your most reso levels, so you just kind of want to like hold off and maybe you want to save a few runs for right before reset to get your max damage in so you can get your max scores, so you can get your best rewards out of the Dream Realm. And I will catch you all in the next one. Bye!